Colin Douglas lives in Las Vegas, a data analyst by training and a philosopher by nature. He's driven by ideas and a great curiosity about how people choose to live their lives. Here's my conversation with Colin. Thank you so much, Colin, for making time to talk with me today. I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the invite. What an experience.
And I sent you a list of questions, but I actually thought I would switch gears a little bit and read something that I just read on your website about you, because I think it makes a good launching off point. I mean, I could say your day job is as a data analyst.
Effectively, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you do that during the day, but you do some actually really cool stuff on the side. And so I'm just going to read this first paragraph to you that's from your Life Unconscious website, which is, I spent my youth entirely lost and uncertain. Don't get me wrong, I still am, but spent the past 6 years obsessed with uncovering a way of life to create long-term happiness. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you were thinking and feeling, what brought you to write that?
I guess growing up, there was fairly high standards, and so just very much pushed to excel in school, and also doing sports. So I did gymnastics growing up. So it was like 4 hour practices, 6 days a week, and then on top of that with school. I mean, it's just a lot. It just felt like working, and I felt there's kind of this carrot that's dangled in front of you through high school as long as I can remember. And it kind of just always feels like, well, just pass this exam, just get through this class, just graduate, just get to college. And it seems like there's always just next, with this allure, it felt, of if you do these things and you check these boxes and you do well in school, then it feels like this kind of unspoken, I don't know, cloud nine that you just kind of attain at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel. And I kind of graduated high school, at least. And then it was just, this isn't quite it either. And then it was going to school. I went to school in Colorado, data analytics for a degree, and then competed sports in college as well. Not very well, mind you. But very much a time intensive. And it's still kind of this promise of this is what will happen and you will be able to do. I don't know. You will be able to do whatever you want. But it turns out whatever you want, there's options you got to choose, and you still got to live your life, and you don't just graduate and life's perfect and magical all of a sudden. And I guess I feel like that's maybe what retirement would feel like, where it's like, I don't know, 62 and a half, whatever the retirement age is, and then all of a sudden it's great. Life's great, right? But are we just playing this waiting game, just trying to get to the next thing?
I'm just going to speak up as not far from the 62 and a half mark. I don't think it gets any easier. I don't think it just suddenly it ticks and you're like, oh, great, I've accomplished all the things I needed to. And now life is easy and I just need to kind of find my own happiness in my daily, routine and things like that. I don't think that challenge ever goes away.
Yeah. So I guess it kind of spurred this curiosity more so. I'm like, okay, well, this kind of life isn't really what I want. So what is what I want? And similar to the retirement aspect, I was reading stories of people who would go into retirement, or they would quit their job, or whatever the thing was that was supposed to make them happy didn't. I mean, you read same thing with Olympic athletes. They medal, and then there's actually just yesterday I read this stat, roughly 2 months after Olympic gold medalists, they experience a super high and then enduring lows, because we don't actually want to get there. We just like the process of doing. But the brain has a funny way of tricking us. So I read some of these stories and experienced some of it myself, and just kind of went down this rabbit hole of, okay, then how do I create enduring happiness? And I don't think that's a great word, honestly. I think peace is, I don't know, peace seems to be a much closer fit. I don't know if it's perfect, but how do I set up a life for enduring peace or feeling or fulfillment or purpose or whatever, insert feel goodness without abusing and using cheap dopamine.
One of the reasons I really wanted to speak to you in particular, in addition to that interest of yours, is that you actually make the time to write about and share thoughts about these things with other people, even while pursuing a full-time job in data analytics. What gave you the drive to do that? Where do you find the time and energy to do that on top of your day job?
I've kind of always been interested in just ideas. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, but I remember now looking back in probably high school and just kind of jotting notes. If there was an interesting idea or something somebody shared, I was like, oh, I want to remember that. And so I don't know, I'd write it down in the margin of whatever page I was holding. Maybe it was a quote or an idea or a passage. So that was kind of the genesis of it. Is I just wanted to store some of these ideas. I wanted to remember them more, and I have a horrible memory, so I needed somewhere to make it a little bit more tangible. And so yeah, I just kind of started noting them down, and it went like that for a while. I had never really considered writing or journaling. Like that had never even crossed my mind. It was more just to save these quotes that I liked. But I kept doing that for, I don't know, several years. And then eventually I had so many, I was like, and I felt so scatterbrained because they were all over the place. It's like, well, now I want to consolidate them because now they're still going to get lost. So I think I probably made a folder or something with them, and then it probably evolved to a binder. And then I was like, wow, there's kind of a lot of stuff in here. And sometimes it would be just, then it kind of evolved to my own thoughts, just writing down, oh, I have this idea. And so I had this physical collection, and eventually that grew out of control. I guess I'll make a digital collection of it. And somewhere along there, I had, through this practice of writing down other people's ideas and then jotting down maybe a handful of my own, I started to find it quite therapeutic. Started with Google Docs, and then eventually gets consolidated. Then I made a website. The website evolved, and then I started sharing it. I made a newsletter, and then now on Substack, which is how we met. But yeah, it really just stemmed from a desire to capture more ideas. Like I was just excited about it, and I wanted to save these things, and it's kind of snowballed since then.
I just feel like there's a step between finding ways to record those for yourself, because you're like, I don't want to forget them. And then like maybe I need to organize them so I can find the things I need when I want to, or if I have a feeling about something, I can go and read in that topic. There's a step between doing that for yourself and then putting it in a format for you to be able to share with others, because then you start this kind of interactive thing. And I think part of that is about offering up content to others that you found useful. And part of it is engaging people with you. Like, so you're putting stuff out and you're putting it out in a format, especially on Substack, where you're inviting people to comment. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how did you feel about that transition from like, it's for me, so I don't forget and I can consult, to I want to share and interact with others on this?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. That was multiple years that it transpired over. It never even felt like the next step or the next step. It was just, you're right. I guess I was collecting them, and they were cool quotes and they were cool ideas. So I really liked them. And I found myself sharing them just in conversation with people. There's a quote: thoughts disentangle themselves through the lips and through the fingertips. Right? So that's a comment on writing. I was like, wow, that's a super interesting idea. I love that. And I would have a conversation maybe with somebody, and they're like, wow, through conversation, my thoughts seem to make sense. I'm like, wow, here's this cool quote that maybe describes that for you. Or Martin Luther King has one. He's like, darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. The same way that hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. I really liked these ideas, and they were cool. And so I would find myself sharing those just in conversation with people. when the opportunity arose or when the conversation steered in that direction, I was like, oh, hey, here's this interesting idea from this interesting person. And I found pretty positive feedback just from that because it turns out other people like ideas too.
Where do you see then vulnerability in yourself in this process of finding cool stuff, recording it for yourself, sharing it with people in conversation or through Substack, for example? I guess it's twofold. One is there a certain openness you have to have in yourself to see things that are like particularly relevant to you because you know you need them, and you have to kind of see into yourself and say, actually, this is valuable because I
Yeah.
need this guidance. And when you put it out in the world, how are other people going to react to that? It's different than me with my binder.
Yeah. When I first started, yeah, I was just doing it for me. So I guess it didn't require really that much vulnerability because it was just, this is useful for me. I'm experiencing whatever problem teenage me is experiencing and wrestling with. And so it didn't feel like I had to be vulnerable with myself. It was just either this is useful or it's not useful and save the things that are useful. Sharing with other people, it feels like a work in progress. How vulnerable do you want to be with a group of strangers on the internet?
We're about to find out, Colin. No.
Yeah, uh-oh. It's about to get deep here. That's honestly also certainly changed over time. I think now I'm more vulnerable and more willing to share. And that has less so to do with art and creation or whatever you want to call it, and more to do with my research on kind of this well-being. If you look at almost any research on happiness, you can study, I mean, the blue zones. Harvard did a happiness study, read philosophy. The core component of well-being and longevity, relationships, right? The quality of your relationships. Harvard, they did an 80-year cross-sectional study on happiness and what makes these people the happiest, regardless of their job, their circumstances, upbringing, anything, was the quality of their relationships.
And I'm not familiar with that study. So is it relationships like family and close friends? Is it broader relationships out in the community? Does it include connections we make with people who are far away? Like what did they qualify the type of relationship?
Yeah, it's basically when shit hits the fan, do you have people that you can rely on?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I have my own version of shit hits the fan. My version is this 3 a.m. list. If I
Mm.
need to call somebody at 3 a.m., it's a very short list, right? But these
Yes,
are people who
yes.
will pick up and they will come help me with whatever's going on.
I like 3 a.m. I like that. I think that's kind of the point too, is it's going to be a short list. It's very difficult to have that depth of relationship with a wide variety of people. So relationships has been also of interest to me recently. And how do you increase a quality of a relationship? Have you ever heard of the 36 questions of vulnerability?
Oh no.
36, no, 36 questions to love. That's what it's
No,
called.
no, I don't. Oh, you got me
Yeah.
there. I was like,
Uh,
ah,
yeah,
that'd be bad.
but effectively, I'll have to send it to you. But they have these group of total strangers and they put them in a room together. I think you just pair off. The first question is pretty broad. Given the choice of anyone in the world, whom would you want as a dinner guest? So relatively mellow. And then they answer it, and then their partner answers it. I haven't even read through the whole list because I'm nervous about. I want to do it with somebody, and it's like get super deep. And at the end of the study, they asked these people how close they felt, and a decent portion of people said they felt closer to this total stranger than a majority of people in their life, or some people said anyone they ever knew. And so vulnerability is a key component of quality of relationships. And so through this kind of research on peace and happiness, ergo relationships, ergo vulnerability, that's definitely got me to be just more vulnerable in my day-to-day relationships. And I think also some of that comes through writing. Yeah.
I'm just going to take a brief tangent here because that idea about building or experiencing vulnerability with strangers, I just wanted to ask if you know Marina Abramovich, the performance artist.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm not going to get any of the references right because I don't remember what museum it was, but she sat at a table and there's an empty chair across from her. And anybody passing through could just sit across from her. No words. So no words. You just look into each other's eyes. And she doesn't look away. She's just looking at you.
It's
And
good.
people broke down into tears. There's a connection, a human connection there too, that we might not speak the same language, or we might. But there's things that also happen in an openness without words that are so fundamental to our insides, right? And there's the whole thing, eyes are the mirror of the soul, whatever, but it's actually really easy to look away when you're looking straight into somebody's eyes, especially in person.
Yeah.
And so even with complete strangers would cry, would, just have all these emotional responses. Quite beautiful.
Yes. So she was sitting in a museum?
Yeah, because it was a performance piece. It was like an art piece that she was doing. She did lots of different interesting things. I can send you a reference to her, but she did a lot of pieces, but also physical vulnerability. This is like a kind of a spookier one, and I don't have all the information. But again, she just presented herself, I believe, naked in a museum, and out in front were all kinds of tool sorts of things, like feathers, knives, different things, and people could do whatever they wanted to her. And some people did, like, hurt her and do different things. And yeah, so she exposed herself physically. She was physically vulnerable, and people did take it, strangers, and hurt her. It's not necessarily up your alley, but it's kind of an adjunct to it's the nonverbal part, the part where we expose ourselves without words.
I'm super interested in those pockets of, I don't know, it's pockets of exploration that are super extreme and out there. I'm super fascinated by. While you bring it up, there's the statistic, I think it's 55, 38, and 7. That's the percentage of our meaning that's conveyed by our body language. It's 55%. Our tone of voice is 38%. The least percent is the words we use.
Yes, and I'm just going to make a small point about that too, because I've encountered that a lot. That research was done specifically in contexts that were emotionally charged. So it's very relevant in this case. If you're talking about something where there's zero emotions, but people use it globally. They use it universally. But actually the research was done, and the point was, particularly in emotional situations, we're not listening to the words anymore, barely. But we're really paying attention to physical cues, body language, like you said, the tone of my voice, how fast I'm speaking, all of those things together, because I think our brain kind of shuts down on the more intellectual side, and you like plug into your actually what's really going on here. And that's where also you can see the mismatch between what somebody's saying and what they actually mean, because you feel that. You can't get that from the words only.
So it sounds like then in maybe everyday conversation, maybe words is a little bit higher.
I don't know if there's research around that. I just know that I encountered it a few times through work, and I actually went back to the original reference because I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, what is it?
And it's just one of those things that's become so commonly quoted that the rest of the context has fallen apart.
No, I'm super glad you shared that. If I may share a brief story as well, just something else that you made me think of. The eye contact. Have you ever heard of holotropic breathing?
No.
Do you know who Wim Hof is?
Oh, cold plunge man, yeah.
Yes. So his breathing technique is very similar to holotropic breathing. Weird story. Long story short, I found somebody who was offering a holotropic breathwork class. I went and took it. Not even the point of the story, but odd environment already. Total strangers, and the facilitator at the beginning, because it is kind of a vulnerable practice and it is total strangers, how do you get people to feel comfortable? Something that she did to start it off was you paired off and 2 minutes, you just had to stare into this stranger's eyes. And so I mean, yes, exactly of what you're describing. I've done it in different scenarios over the years, and that's probably the third or fourth time I've done it. And every time, it's a pretty interesting interaction. It's like, wow, it's pretty intimate.
It's extremely, extremely intimate. I'll share one other sort of related story then, just
Yes.
quickly. I met a photographer through doing this podcast, and at the time he was in Hawaii. He would say, I'm only going to ask you 3 questions. Where have you been? I'm paraphrasing now, I don't remember exactly,
Yeah.
but it's like, where are you coming from? Where do you want to be? And where are you now between those? So we talked about it, shared the questions. I'm like, no biggie, right? Like, where have I been? Where am I going? Where am I? No problem. I know where I am.
Yeah.
And then I decided I would participate. Because what he would do is he was asked the questions and then he takes pictures.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to try that. So I fly
I
to
like
Hawaii.
that.
I go, yeah. He was like outside the city. And so you go up into into the countryside. I'm sitting down. He's getting everything ready. It's beautiful. You hear birds, bright sun. It's gorgeous. And he sits across from me and he tells me the 3 questions again. He says, take a minute and really go into how you feel about that, especially the where you are part. So
Yeah.
where have you been, where are you going, but where you are right now. And then for the next hour, you don't say one word. He just picks up the camera and he doesn't stop. He's taking pictures and you just have to sit there and stare at the lens for an hour. Within 3 minutes, I think, was bawling like a
Really?
baby. I was like, it triggered something in me and
Wow.
it's so, you're being seen. Like,
Yeah.
talk about being seen, right? But he's got his camera lens focused on
Yeah.
you, right? You're really being seen. And again, there's no words, and it's eye contact in a weird way because he's looking
Yeah.
at you, and you don't look away. That's it. You can't look away, so you have to stare at that lens and
That's cool.
reflect on where you are in your life. And you're like, oh, oh dear, this is like it's
Wow.
intense. Yeah.
So you weren't verbally sharing it. You were purely thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Interesting. For an hour.
Well, I mean, I think it might have been 45 minutes. It felt
But
like 7 days. It was long.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Did he share the photos with you afterwards?
Oh, yeah.
That would also be trippy to then see yourself in retrospect.
Yeah. Because you can't hold the mask. Like
Yeah.
it
Oh,
would, well, maybe if you were like really gifted at doing that, you could, but not if
yeah.
you're, and he's really saying like, feel it. Don't,
Right. The point. Don't
don't
block.
hamster
You
wheel it.
could block it out, but it's not the point of this.
Why be there? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why are you going through this? You got to really let your guard down and just feel it.
That's bizarre.
It was great though. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. It was, so he had a whole project where he would invite people. And then so
Oh.
one aspect of his work was exploring this idea of people just stripping away
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. I like that. I like those weird, I don't know, those weird moments in life. I think those are so cool. It made me think of another story. We're going quite tangent here. I did a ski trip to Japan last year. Very, very fortunate, with a group of friends. One of the places we stayed at, they had an onsen, a sauna. I don't know if this is universal across Japan, but at this particular one, it was a fully nude sauna. It was male only, and then they had a female only one, so they were separated. That was a surprisingly, I mean, I guess I don't know what I expected, but yeah, physically vulnerable. And it was just me and a couple friends, and we go in this onsen. There's a couple of older Japanese dudes in there. In Japanese culture, everybody's very polite on average, and it's fairly quiet in public settings. So even on the metro, as busy as New York City, and dead quiet on this metro. And so when we went to the onsen, it was that very similar vibe. It was a very, just very quiet, and oh my, it's crazy hot. It's like 106 probably. It's super hot, and you're fully nude, and you're just a couple of strangers, a couple of your friends, and it was a very reflective, just pensive, quiet, peaceful experience. And I just remember that feeling. Just another one of those small pockets of human experience. Like, huh, that's kind of interesting.
You keep leading me along, Colin. I have a very quick story for you.
I love it. I'm very good. You have your questions. I skimmed them over. I was like, I know how my brain works. It's gonna fucking one question, and I know it's gonna side rail. So apologies for that.
No, mine's exactly the same. I find it fascinating because we started by talking about writing as an avenue possibly towards exploring vulnerability, but we're actually landing in a place where it's the non-verbal,
Yeah,
right?
that's
The
funny.
eye contact, not having your clothes as a kind of armor, and where we are in society right now, where it's in some sense it is super vulnerable just by nature, and in some sense it's vulnerable because it's socially not common in
Mm,
North America anyway. It's
yeah,
just not. And so we're not used to it. So we don't even build up any kind of resistance to it. It's like,
right,
we don't do that.
right,
We
right.
don't do that. So another photographer that I encountered through this experience of doing the podcast, and he takes pictures of people in, it wasn't Joshua Tree where I stayed. It was like one town closer to the ocean from there because I drove there from LA, and I had talked to him once online like this. This is one of the more like risky things I ever did, but I was like, I think, whatever. I just wanted to experience it. In the desert, you take off all your clothes, you're alone just with him in
Wow.
the middle of the desert, and
Yeah.
he's taking pictures. And I was like, well, I did the emotional reveal with the eyes thing. Now I'm going to try the physical reveal because I want to see what it
Yeah.
feels like. And also as a woman, I'm going to meet
Yeah.
this that
Yeah.
I don't
That's a
actually
risk.
know. Yeah, and nobody I know knows him. So I can literally
And we're
disappear.
going out in the middle of the desert. Yeah. Where there's no cell reception. Yeah.
No, nope. And I was really nervous. And we met
Yeah.
for dinner the night before, and I was like, okay, what the fuck are you doing this time? Like this is
Yeah. Wow. That is
borderline.
spooky. Yeah. Borderline.
But I really love, I mean, I feel really comfortable in the desert, and I'd come from the ocean. I'm like, I just felt really, I'm good. I'm like, I'm good. I can take
Yeah.
care. I want to feel like I can take care of myself. And so there's this moment where he kind of like walked off a bit, and he said, take your time. When you're ready, you can just undress, and then we'll walk a little bit, and you'll find your place. And, it's just super easy going. And he does it of himself too. I think that was the
Okay.
thing that I was like, he does pictures of other people, but he also takes a lot of photographs of himself nude in the
Mm,
desert. He exposes
mm.
himself. So I was like, that sounded terrible, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah. Yeah. There's some honesty.
he's willing to do it for himself. Like I found, there's a lot of integrity in that. He wasn't hiding behind his lens. He was right out there. And so I sat down and I was like, okay, well, this is it. This is where.
I
And he also,
guess we start.
well, yeah, but he said, if you change your mind right now, also fine.
Mm,
Totally fine. We are
mm.
having this experience. We take the pictures. Great. He said, if you want to leave your clothes on, I'll take your picture. I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. And he was clothed during the experience?
He was clothed.
Okay.
So it was almost an out of body experience where I got undressed and I stood up and I was like, ooh, I feel so powerful right now. I got this. And we walked and we did the photos and came back and I put my clothes back on and then we left.
I don't know that I've experienced that level of vulnerability with total stranger before. That's pretty cool.
Only if one of those Japanese gentlemen had pulled out their cameras.
Yeah, yeah, right, right. Yeah, because that's an added level. You're not just a part of the scenery. You are the scenery. The focus is on you.
Yeah, but interesting you say that actually. And so I can end the story on that, but it was an amazing experience to actually feel integrated. Because without
Mm,
your clothes and your shoes and all the
yeah,
stuff, there's birds, there's creosote bushes, there's so much in motion, there's beautiful mountains in the background. And I felt more a part of my environment in that moment probably than I ever have.
That's cool. I had a friend tell me recently that we need to stop seeing ourselves as separate from nature. We are part of the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Like when people say humans and animals, I'm like, are we no longer animals? I believe we're
Yeah. It's all beliefs. So it's just like some people don't believe it. And so I'm like, sometimes I got to be careful about, but I'm with you.
But you're right, though, that whether to say that or not reveals a huge amount about your philosophy of our
Right.
relationships.
Yeah.
Human beings with animals or other animals, or however you want to put it, and the plant kingdom and the natural world around us.
And I find it's kind of how you go about your life too. It's just kind of your navigating philosophy. What do you believe in? And that, yeah, it's just a revealing thing.
Be sure to check out Colin's writing on Substack at Personal Peace, and that's peace, Peace.